Raise your right hand, sir. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Be seated. State your name and spell first and last name for the court reporter, please.
John Babb, Babb.
Thank you, sir. All right, you proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Babb.
That mic is fine if you need to get a little closer to it.
Where do you currently live?
Collierville,
And where's Collierville?
Tennessee.
And is that close to Memphis?
Yes,
And prior to moving to Collierville, where did you live?
in Lexington, Tennessee.
Prior to living in Lexington, where did you live?
Kansas City.
At some point in there, did you have a house, property on Swan Johnson Road?
I did. I did not live there. I just owned the property there.
What kind of property did you own? A house, a lake, what?
150 acres, mostly woods, five lakes, recreational property.
And I asked you whether it was close to Swan Johnson Road. Actually, was it right off of Swan Johnson?
Right on Swan Johnson Road on the east side.
Right. Are you familiar with the family last name Bobo?
Very much so.
Karen Bobo, Dana Bobo, and Holly.
And
Do you recall approximately when you met their family?
so they were probably the first family I met when I bought that property,
And when was that?
2004.
And having bought that property in 2004, did you basically watch Clint and Holly grow up?
I did.
Did you ever do any business with Dana or do some work for you or around your lakes?
A great deal. He had heavy equipment, and I needed a lot of heavy equipment work done on the lake property. We worked together for about 10 years.
And how much interaction did you have with Holly?
Every now and then, I would see her whenever I went over to their house. In fact, she rode her horse on our property from time to time.
She rode her horse with your permission.
Yeah, sure.
You said you didn't live there. Did you go there frequently or infrequently?
About 3 times a week.
Was there a place for you to spend the night when you wanted to?
There's a small cabin on the place.
I want to draw your attention, please, sir, to April the 13th of 2011 and ask you, do you remember that morning?
I do.
Had you spent the night in your cabin there on Swan Johnson the night before?
No.
How specifically do you remember that morning?
I was to go fishing with a good friend of mine who had come in from Atlanta. We spent the night at my home in Lexington, came there the next morning. I remember we were running a little bit late, 30. Went down to the house. I had to rig up or put a boat on the trailer and then hook up the trailer, get our fishing gear together. I showed my buddy a boat that I had built over the winter. Then we went over to a lake, some 300 or 400 yards away from the cabin.
So all of the activity that you described, when you said at the time you went through the gate, that was on that property?
Yes.
Gate to your
Right.
cabin and to your lake, the ponds and lakes?
Yes.
You sort of have given us some specific time frames. Are you the person that makes note of detail based on your history, your work history, your career?
I had to do that for many years, yes.
Just so Tree understands why you might be a person that pays attention. What was your career?
I worked for the U.S. Surgeon General. I was an Assistant Surgeon General and Rear Admiral in the Public Health Service.
And attained you were a Rear Admiral, weren't you?
Yes.
And when did you retire?
2010.
April of 2011 was really shortly after your retirement. You're
Yes.
enjoying yourself, being able to go fishing in the middle of the week.
Indeed.
You entered the gate, you said around 7:30.
Around 7:30, yes.
And how much time did you spend getting things ready, getting the boat on the trailer? And
I would say probably 20 minutes. Then we rode over to the lake. My buddy is a little bit decrepit, and as I had my stuff ready to go, he wasn't quite ready yet. He was gathering his stuff together. I was standing on the levee of the lake. He was down next to the boat, at the lake surface there trying to get his stuff ready. And that's why I saw what I saw and he didn't see it.
So that the jury understands, I guess, the layout. If you were standing where you were on the levee and looked back towards the road, what could you see? Could you actually see Swan Johnson Road?
Yes, for about maybe a 50, 60 yard swath of road there, yeah.
And you said that he was not your buddy, and was that Mr. Williams?
Bob Williams, yes.
He was not able to see what you did because of where he was.
Right.
What did you see?
Well, first I heard something, a motor revving up loudly on the road. I looked over and a white truck came by extremely fast, probably faster than any vehicle I've seen on that road before or since, probably traveling 55, 60 miles an hour. And I turned to my buddy and said, man, that white truck was flying. And of course, he didn't see it. That was the end of that conversation.
Were you able, other than making the observation that it was a white truck and going fast, were you able to make any other observations about that truck?
I thought it was an extended cab truck.
Okay.
But
Did you think that it was?
I thought it may have been a Ford, but then it was 250 yards or so away. So I couldn't tell for sure.
When you reported what you saw, though, you reported those things, that you thought it was an extended cab and you thought it was a Ford.
Yes.
Mr. Hagerman just reminded me to ask, was it a pickup truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
An actual pickup truck. Other than hearing the truck, and let me ask you which direction it was going, and we have a map.
The truck was going south. And just at the very north end of the Bobo property and my property, Swan Johnson turns into a gravel road. So I find it inconceivable that somebody could have been going that speed with that made any sense whatsoever after coming off that gravel road unless they were in one heck of a hurry. That's why it drew my attention.
In addition to hearing and then seeing the white pickup truck, did you hear some noises shortly before that you thought were cats fighting?
I did. Two of the neighbors owned quite a few cats. And when I heard it, I thought, that sounded like a couple of cats fighting. And it was off towards the Bobo house. My buddy, who is actually a cat person, said, no, I don't think that was cats, but that was all we heard, and we didn't figure that out.
Did you hear what you thought at the time were cats fighting, two cats fighting, before or after you saw the car speeding past?
Well, I heard that as soon as we got to the lake, so it was before the car.
So you heard was it screeching or yelling or crying or?
A screech or a squall like I say, I thought it was cats.
But your buddy told you it wasn't.
Right.
Do you remember when you were kind enough to let me come to your home and talk to you about what you saw and heard?
Yes, ma'am.
And in telling me, describing for me the layout of your property and the Bobos, did you hand draw a map?
Yes, I did.
Let me pass that forward to you. And Your Honor, the defense has it. And do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that map, to the best of your ability, truly and accurately reflect sort of the layout of the road, the land, the Bobos that morning?
It's a crude map, but yes. Yeah.
Your Honor, ask this be marked as the next number of the exhibit. I'm going to pass you a pointer. If you'll look over your left shoulder.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Especially on this one, it's a little.
Like no money, we learned how to get the lights down.
All right, Mr. Babb, you have to tell me, is it focused enough for you to point out the writing or not? I can't tell.
It's hard to make out the writing.
Okay.
This point right here is the levee on the lake where I was standing. Right in here is where I saw this truck speeding, coming from that direction, and I saw the lake for that time period right in here.
Where do the Bobos live?
There.
And what distance, if you had to tell us down the road from the Bobos to where you saw the car?
Well, from there to there, I would say 150, 200 yards.
150 to 200 yards. And the area on here where you believe you heard two cats fighting or screaming, where does that sound?
Generally in this direction here. This lady here had cats, and there was a man that lived here who had 60 cats.
Wow.
62 actually. So
But the sound wasn't from where he lived.
no, it wasn't coming from that direction. It was back over in here.
Let me ask you and tell me if either way, is it a possibility that what you heard were voices or high-pitched screaming as opposed to cats?
It was.
I'm going to inject the speculation.
The question's proper, overruled.
Let me ask that question again. Is it a possibility that the sounds you heard that morning was someone crying or screaming as opposed to cats fighting?
I didn't think of it in that terms whenever I heard it. I wish I had under the circumstances, but no, I didn't think of it that way, but it's certainly possible that it was.
Now, this information that you shared with the jury, at what point did you tell someone in law enforcement what you had seen regarding that white, possibly Ford extended cab pickup?
Well, the first thing that happened that I knew anything had gone on over there was that Dana Bobo called me, I'm not sure, somewhere around 9 o'clock that morning to ask me what the age requirement was for an Amber Alert. And I said, I think it's 21, but I'm not sure. And then he said that Holly has been taken, and he tried to explain what was going on. And so, well, he said, are you at the lake? And I said, yeah. And so I then stopped fishing, went to all of the buildings on the property there to be sure that nobody had come over there to our side of the road. And then I went directly over to Swan Johnson Road, walked up to his house. There were police cars, et cetera, all up and down the road. And I talked to the sheriff of Decatur County and the sheriff of Henderson County, who were together on the roadway there, and told them what I'd seen. And directly, somebody from Homeland Security and the FBI came over to the cabin and talked to me. And then later on that evening, they asked me to come to the command trailer, and I spoke to them again there.
So from within an hour and a half or so after you heard and saw this, you were taking steps to report it?
Yes, but I didn't know there was anything to report until Dana's telephone call. Right.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Cross.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Babb. We're free to go, or you can be in the courtroom with us. Thank you. Call your next.
Tony Weber.